Welcome to Prog Dog Channel. I'm Dean Wolfe, and I'm going to now review Open Your Eyes by Yes, which came out in 1997. So this is kind of a retroactive review. Well, I think Yes is one of the greatest bands of all time. But here we have an album that in some respects can be held up as an example of how not to produce this legendary band. It's overwhelmingly positive and uplifting, with song titles like Love Shine, No Way We Can Lose, Wonder Love, and A New State of Mind. But does it open our eyes to who Yes really is? This album supports my thesis that Yes are at their best in the analog tape-based studio, like back in the 1970s with Eddie Offord at the desk, where options are limited, forcing the band to make key, important decisions that uphold only the fundamentals of what makes Yes, Yes. So what are those fundamentals? Well, one essential would be Chris Squire's bass, which on this album gets softened and squashed back into the mix instead of being like a massive stone boulder integral to the Yes sound that it is. It needs to be a foundation, along with the drums, for the rest of the band to build up and out from. The drums are not too bad sounding, but they seem to lack oxygen and space at times. Another fundamental to the Yes sound is, of course, Jon Anderson's lead vocals, which are great. I have no complaints about any of them on this album. In fact, his whole entire career I can't find fault with. He's such a consistent singer. There does seem to be a lack of leadership in the keyboard department on this album, and then well, that's self-explained once you look at who actually played the keyboards. There were several people: Igor Korochev, Jeff Porcaro of Toto, and of course Billy Sherwood. But he was heavily tasked and taxed with the whole job of recording and mixing the album. So, as a whole, I can't say there was anything really loudly I could object to as far as the keyboards. They all seem pretty tasteful and interesting throughout. But I just sensed that there was a lack of, focus there on the keyboards as a whole. But by the conclusion of the album, when it was all said and done, apparently, Billy Sherwood was officially in Yes. Another Yes hallmark are the multi-part complex harmonies and backing vocals. It's a signature for Yes. There's plenty here in this album. In fact, there's more than usual, and they're very thickly done, in fact, and they're excellent, actually. I mean, like on the opener, New State of Mind. The Open Your Eyes album is undeniably ambitious and is heartwarming. There's loads of great Yes moments. I enjoy Steve Howe's work on this album, which is refreshingly varied and diverse, as he happily pecks away at his guitar. In fact, I'm surprised Steve made out as well as he did on this album. Really, Open Your Eyes is a perfect Trevor Rabin album, appropriate just for his style. It could have benefited from his powerful Van Halen Marshall Stax sounds, and big, loud solos and heavy, crunchy chords. That's a vibe that Steve Howe has avoided for most of his career, with one exception, I believe, drama with Yes. But of course, that's very significant because drama actually predated Trevor Rabin. It's sort of like a prescient almost about what the 80s were going to hold for Yes. And at the same time, Steve Howe sort of withdrew from that kind of sound. The story was as well that this album, Billy Sherwood and Chris Squire, and I guess Alan White, had sort of firmed up a lot of the album already by the time that Jon Anderson came along and Steve Howe. So Steve Howe and Jon Anderson sort of had to come in, flying like a helicopter at the last minute. Well, I don't know if it was the last minute, but I think Steve Howe may have sort of voiced a mild complaint about that. And that's according to Wikipedia, if you want to check that out. Wikipedia. Well, Open Your Eyes is a rather playful pop prog album. In many respects, the album doesn't really lack, though there are no sidelong epics. There's no longer songs that we kind of expect from Yes, but it has an abundance of great melodies and quite Yes-y ideas, but unfortunately they don't get to shine to their full potential. Love Shine is a great example of a song with fantastic potential, but again, the vision wasn't carried through. The backup Shine vocals sounded like they're coming out of a closet, and the synth bass is squashed so it's almost inaudible. The song sounds rather two-dimensional, but, you know, compositionally speaking, there's some really, truly inspiring sections, and Steve Howe is just shining. And overall, it's a really great tune, but it suffered an unfair fate. Man in the Moon, however, is a total anomaly in this album. It's frankly an awful song. It's probably the worst song in the entire Yes catalog. I just can't stand it. I have to skip over it whenever I hear it.
What the hell?
So what's the Prog Dog score? We give it, just barely 3 out of 5, okay? 3 bones out of 5. It's not a total faceplant, but certainly when you ponder all the potential of what it could have been, it's a real hair puller. So don't hurry out to hear this album if you haven't heard it yet. You know, just take your time. You'll get there. You'll hear it. But if you're a Yes super fan, you definitely should check it out. It's really still an important part of their catalog. And maybe someday they'll remix this album and do an edit and just completely cut off that one song that I mentioned. So that's my review. Thanks for watching. Me and Prog Dog say so long on spiraling. And make sure you leave a thumbs up if you haven't already. And make sure you read this review, which is also on Prog Dog blog, which is progdog.ca. Spiraling out. It's Dean. Talk to you all later. Bye now.